Tonight on Garage Time, we're continuing with the Subi swap, but tonight I'm going to talk about pressure plates. So, we bought it as a kit. It was supposed to make life super easy, no real thinking. All the parts just showed up that I needed, and I put it in the bus and drove it. It sounded like a fabulous idea, and as they say, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. So anyhow, I'm going through the process. Parts are showing up. Some of them look great. Some of them are a disappointment. And the one that just showed up was my clutch and pressure plate. So you can see over here, Sean scrolls over, we've shown you the adapter plate and our flywheel. We've got our rebuilt transmission in the bus, right? So, you know, we've got welded gears, we've changed the ring and pinion, we've got what we believe to be a rock solid tranny in that bus. Putting in a high horsepower engine in comparison to what was there. So this pressure plate showed up, and first of all, it's a Sachs pressure plate kit. Now our bus is a 64, but we've converted to 12 volt system and transmission with the late style throwout bearing. So this is the wrong throwout bearing. This is the wrong pressure plate. Now I know some pressure plates you can take the ring off and it will work. I'm not 100% sure if this Sachs model you can, but anyhow, the point of the story is this was designed and built for the original 40 horsepower engine. That's not what I'm putting in, right? And second to that, it came with one of the original clutch discs, but this one has the springs in it, so it's got a bit of flex. Again, because of the horsepower and torque I'm putting on this engine, I don't want this to be my weak link. So these parts came with my kit. I will not be using them. They'll be for sale on the Samba if you're interested. But what we did is the collection of parts is really gathering behind me here for once it comes back from paint, we're ready to go with lots. But anyhow, what I did is went back to KEP. They build really nice pressure plates, and this is just, I went for the stage 1 setup, and yes, it also has the ring on it, or the collar, but they're easily removable. I've done one of these before. You remove the spring tensioner on the back, this plate will all come off. We'll go ahead and do that in a minute. And we went ahead and bought a solid clutch disc. So I'm not worried about springs and stuff breaking free if I am driving it a little rough. Once I get this engine in, I want it to stay in. I don't want to be pulling it for clutch issues. So this is the setup we've decided to go with. I'm gonna go ahead, get the pressure plate cleaned, get the, we're gonna use like a brake cleaner, clean any oil residue off of that. We have our tool that came with our new hardware. So we're gonna go ahead and clean that up and get that installed now. Okay, so looking down at the pressure plate, you can see, easy enough. Do it with your hand once you get it started. So you remove the spring clip, and that ring comes right off. So early style with the floating release bearing, you would need this. The release bearing that sits on the shaft. We have the late style, so this is the setup we need. Okay, so this has got a residue on it from the factory. We're just using a brake cleaner. I'm gonna give that a nice clean. Obviously you don't want any oil or grease or whatever coating they have on there from the factory to protect it, screwing up your brand new disc. All right, so obviously this is the other side, the flywheel side. We also want to clean that. So again, we're just using our cleaner and rag, and you can see the small bearing. I protected. I don't want to degrease that. They actually tell you to grease it. I'll check it after, but ours felt pretty greasy there. But I'll just make sure it's got an adequate coating on it. One more time just for fun. Okay, that should be good and clean. Okay, so I did feel in there. I'm gonna add just a little bit of grease to it. Not a lot. I definitely don't want grease getting on my clutch disc. Okay, so there's roller needle bearings in there on your input shaft. So to properly seat your clutch, you do need the spline. Now, for years, I was just using one out of an old transmission I had taken apart. But both of these kits actually came with a tool, and I think it's pretty common nowadays for you to come with a tool, or for it to come with a tool. But it slides on a little easier. I think the fit is a little smaller on these, so that's quite a tight fit. So we're gonna go ahead and use the tool. It seems like it will simplify the process. So obviously line it up on your tool, slide that in. So that's holding the clutch where the clutch needs to be. Take your pressure plate and line it up. Okay, you can see the pressure plate is not touching at this point. There's a gap between the flywheel and the pressure plate. So I'm gonna get one bolt started here, and you'll tighten them in sequence. Now, some pressure plates and flywheels actually have aligning pins. That's not the case for us here, so we don't have to worry about that, but sometimes there is alignment pins or dowels that would be on the flywheel, right? So you'd get those, they would help position it in place. And while I finger tight these, I guess I'll continue to talk, but the torque setting for these is 27 foot-pounds. That was the torque setting provided by Kennedy. I would have to go into my Volkswagen manual to see if they had the exact same setting, but I imagine it would be the same. So once I get all these finger tight, I'm gonna go in a cross pattern, not to over tighten or completely tighten any one at a time. But this pressure plate, if I want to continue to talk, was the stage 1 Kennedy pressure plate. I was hemming and hawing if I should go stage 1 or stage 2, but I know they warn of exceeding, I guess, what you really need, and that it would create, I guess, tire leg syndrome. And I already had to use a shortened clutch cable arm, like a throwout arm on my clutch, I use the shorter one because when I did the conversion, it was hitting the floor. So it's already using more muscle. I've lost leverage, so it's already harder on the leg, and I didn't want to make that worse. So we've decided for the stage one. And the stage one horsepower rating, torque ratings, they all fall within the Subaru engine. They're on the approaching the upper limit of it, but they are within the limits, so it should be more than fine. So we're just slowly pulling it in. Need an extension. So after this step is done and the bus is back from paint, we will be ready to put the engine in and leave it in. The other things we need to do, we can do while it's installed. So that's how we're going to go about it. So we're just about there. Once it's all tightened, we'll pull out our tool and this will be good to go. So that's our first one. There you go. Just double checking. So that's that. Our flywheel, pressure plate, and clutch are now installed. They match our engine. They match our transmission. We're ready to go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you out there.